As you know, I'm a big game show fan, especially with those on Nickelodeon. I've already done a lot about Brain Surge. I would like to discuss the game show that came out directly afterwards, or should I say, a decade prior. That being Figure It Out. Figure It Out is the game show wherein 4 stars are on a panel trying to reveal the entire talents of the 2 players. They have 3 rounds to do so, and if they cannot, then the players win a grand prize. Midway through the game, a panelist may perform a certain action to have slime fall onto them. Should that happen, an audience member wins a prize in their own right. Figure Out was first made as a pilot in '96 by Kevin Seal and was greenlit. However, by the time that taping started in February 1997, the host was changed to Summer Sanders. The first season aired on July 7th and would run for several months to rather mixed reactions. Some were positive for the unique concept of the game show, whereas others chastised it for its menial actions of the contestants. Therefore, more regulations were made such that you had to physically show your audition for your talent on tape and send it in. Nevertheless, 3 more seasons were ordered for the game show, which proved to be increasingly positively received. It showed some real professionalism and humor with its panelists and gameplay. The last 2 seasons of the show involved family and animal secrets. Additionally, more guest stars appeared on the show, signifying its improvement with a diverse ensemble of stars. Ultimately, Figure It Out ended up with 163 episodes over its 4 seasons from 1997 to 1999. It would then rerun on the Nickelodeon game show channel, GaS, which was then run by the host of FIO until the exact point of its closure on the end of 2007, the very last program to have a rerun on the channel. Several years later, a revival of FIO was announced by Nickelodeon with the host of Brain Surge, Jeff Suffin. The difference in this version is that one of the players' games, there would be a word of honor, where if spoken, the player would be slimed. The taping occurred from April to May 2012 and was highly anticipated by the network. The 40-episode season premiered on June 11, 2012, to 2.87 million views, and through the week, it ended up with an average of 2.6 million. It would air without any breaks over the summer, concluding on August 10th with an average of 2.1 million views. Seemingly reluctant about its future, Nickelodeon ordered a smaller season of 30 episodes for the show. To compensate, various guest stars were included as panelists. There was even a set of child panelists playing along with the stars. This season's fate is even worse than you think it is so far, though. This season began airing on October 15th, 2012, with this week being the only full week of episodes. They would air episodes erratically until November 9th, where they hit the midpoint and then went on hiatus. The ratings for the season were bad, not simply because people were disinterested in Figure It Out, but all cable networks were losing viewers thanks to the rise of the internet and streaming. Finally, the show returned for its last half on June 17th, 2013, where they started off with the child panelist episodes and then once again aired episodes inconsistently. 2 weeks had a mere 1 episode. The final episode was aired on July 16th. 3 months later, the show was officially over. Jeff got a call from a producer telling them that they were taking the set apart, much to his surprise. He was given the podium where Elle, the announcer, stated the prizes. He was originally choosing one of the prop arrows, but his wife rebutted, saying it was too dangerous. The reboot of the show was posted to iTunes, where it has stayed there since 2013. As for the original series, only 14 random episodes were included for purchase. Neither series has been put onto Paramount+. I would like to mention which series is better, and here's my ultimate opinion. The original series was perfect a few times, but so many episodes were filler with the same panelists in 1 or 2 taping days. Whereas the reboot was close to perfect many more times, and it had more changes with grouping its panelists, but it had never really had the chance to see how everyone did with helping one another solve the puzzles. Therefore, the reboot should have run for more episodes, and the original should have had less episodes, but sadly, things didn't work out that way. Anyways, Figured Out still is one of my favorite game shows, and I think people will love both no matter what happens. Nickelodeon has been a network with a variety of content. This repertoire has consisted of comedies, animation, action, mystery, and the one that I want to mention, game shows. Nickelodeon has made game shows since 1986, starting with Double Dare. This became a massive hit for the network, perhaps even being the first show that brought the network to fame at all. Following the success, not only was Double Dare being ordered for additional seasons, but more game shows were being included. Finders Keepers, Think Fast, Get the Picture, Make the Grade, Nickelodeon Arcade, and Legends of the Hidden Temple. Scheduling these shows on their main channel became tough with all the traditional content that Nick also had. They knew how popular the game shows were, but wanted more content on the primary station. As a result, instead of stopping reruns on the main channel and then never airing them again, Nickelodeon made an additional network specifically for these game shows, that being Nick Games and Sports in 1999. For the next many years, these great game shows will be aired on the channel to a new generation of young children. New game shows will be included as well, including Double Dare 2000 and Game Farm. However, all fun must come to an end, as by the time that Nick GaS was closed in 2007, it had no new content to be aired, simply reruns of the old stuff. This had unfortunately been the case for the past 3 years, being old shows to fill the entirety of the channel's airtime. It seemed like game shows on Nickelodeon were all over. Hope was seemingly lost, but there would be one new show to change all this. One very unique game show. One that was engaging, creative, authentic, and fun. The show that I'm referring to is not My Family Got Guts. It's nothing to do with the revivals like Double Dare 2000. The Guts revival did poorly, but the next game show that I'm referring to exceptional to that. It was the next big thing, in fact. I'm talking about 2009's Brain Surge. Brain Surge was the game show that tested your memory. It had visual puzzles, funny stories, quirky questions, and great prizes. And it wouldn't be a Nickelodeon show without slime. This game show was very well received by fans and critics, such that it ended up with a total of 120 episodes across 3 seasons. The first season of Brain Surge was filmed through February to the end of March 2009, and things were hoping to look good. The show would officially premiere on September 28th to very high reception from kids and adults due to its unique concept. To remind you of the gameplay, 6 players compete in the first level, which involves visual puzzles with counting or audio or memory, and they must answer without being wrong or tardy. The points range from 10, gradually going to 100, and at the end, the 2 players with the lowest scores, or at least slowest times, have a trip down the brain drain, the giant foam slide. But of course, they win a prize or 2. The 4 remaining players are told the story by Jeff in round 2, whether it be questions or a list story. They must answer correctly by sitting down, and if they're wrong or take too much time to do so, then they sit down and get pulled back through the giant mouth. When 2 players are left, the knockout round ensues. They must memorize 8 matching images and then say the correct numbers to match them. The next person to say the right match after the previous person fails to do so also gets pulled back in their chair and joins the prior two eliminees to the brain drain with their own prize. The final round of the show, my favorite by the way, consists of 3 grids of squares worth of prize that the final player must step on. After creating the correct pattern of squares, they must stop the timer by stomping an orange button on the very end. After completing the final grid, the player, and Jeff sometimes, gets slimed along with receiving their prizes and their trip. If they cannot do it in the 90 seconds given, then they also have to go down the brain drain with whatever prizes they did won. Season 1 proved to be successful, with the most viewed episode being the celebrity episode where Matt Shively sets the record for level 3. The season wrapped up its broadcasts on April 9, 2010, but earlier, on February 18th, a second season was announced. This season would include most of the same material, except with some special episodes: Boys vs. Girls, Family Week, co-hosts, and Nick Stars. Taping started the following month and ended early April. It's worth noting that the second season was filmed in a very weird order when compared to broadcasts. In chronological order, for example, there was a Nick Stars episode, 2 Boys vs. Girls episodes, a Twins episode, a normal episode, and then 2 co-host episodes. I guess they wanted to show the audience that it would be a more diverse season. Speaking of changes, visual differences in this season include, but not limited to, the audience now being visible, better animation and puzzles, more light effects involved, and a pit at the bottom of the brain drain. Broadcast started on June 21st, 2010 with the Boys and Girls episodes, and after October 15th, it had a 6-month hiatus before finally returning with all the special episodes left, ending on May 13th, 2011. With ratings somewhat dwindling, Jeff suspected that this would be the end of Brain Surge. After all, 2 to 3 seasons was the standard. However, they decided to greenlight one more season for the show, Family Brain Surge. They would begin filming in February through mid-March 2011 during the broadcast hiatus of Season 2. In this season, 5 teams of 2, 4 including the Brain Trust, would compete. Level 1 would be the same aside from only one team being eliminated. In Level 2, should a team struggle with an answer, they call their Brain Trust to help them. In Level 3, they can also help the 2 main players across the floors in hopes of victory. Some more visual changes, different color schemes for levels and material, many more lights, and a lot more mess. Most astoundingly, no interviews and shorter stories are given, as the time limit on episodes went from 23 minutes to 20.5. Broadcast would begin on July 18th and end on November 17th, 2011, with a quarter of the episodes quietly seeing the light of day on Nicktoons from April 28th to May 9, 2014. With the final season of Brain Surge wrapping up in March 2011, Jeff pursued other projects, including another game show called 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show. This occurred only days after the final day of shooting Brain Surge, and Jeff was ready for more action. Rings would come, however, and they weren't very strong, as 101 Ways would last only 6 episodes. However, Jeff's reign of game shows was not through. In March 2012, Nickelodeon announced a revival of an old game show of theirs from '97 called Figure It Out, and Jeff jumped at the chance to take it. While Brain Surge had rare reruns up until this point, its popularity was upped a bit thanks to the new game show. Figure It Out ran for 2 seasons totaling 70 episodes before being officially canceled in October 2013, 13 months after the end of its production. Strangely, throughout its run, all of the series has been posted to iTunes when Brain Surge had never gotten any sort of release, leading to the show to fade from everyone's memory. No pun intended. Amidst everything, Brain Surge was seeming to fall into obscurity. With the decline of cable and rise of streaming and the internet, nobody seemed to care about the show anymore, let alone any other late-stage Nickelodeon material. Brain Surger's last reruns aired on Nicktoons through summer 2014, and there has since been no showing of the game show. That is, until episodes would periodically appear onto YouTube for new and old fans to watch and enjoy. People were able to experience an iconic piece of media and could see it at their own convenience instead of waiting for reruns. Additionally, former players from the show would comment about their episodes through social media, detailing the fun time that they had while being on it. Yes, very luckily, Brain Surge was gradually becoming popular again, and people were seeing its value. One could say that it is a show with a cult following. Nevertheless, this show was a hit for Nickelodeon and remains one of the most creative things to come from the station. There have been other game shows since then, but nothing has ever quite captured the authenticity of Brain Surge. I have enjoyed it for many years, and I know other people feel the same way. This game show is one of a kind, and it deserves its praise. Children of the past several decades have loved video games. Over the years, they've grown and had a lot more creativity and versatility. From Pong to Pac-Man to Mario Galaxy, the game's evolution is astounding. But what if I told you that there was a game show solely dedicated to video games, one that even challenged you to directly be in one? Well, then look no further than 1991's Nickelodeon Arcade. Nickelodeon Arcade is a game show that ran throughout the early 90s, hosted by Fillmore and Universal Orlando. This show revolved around general trivia, visual puzzles, and of course, challenges of video games. To start each of the 2 rounds, one player is chosen to play a face-off game, whether it be based off Pong or a racing game. The player with the highest score has control, otherwise tiebreaker questions occur. The double teams of 2 have to move their avatar Mikey across 2 game boards where the prizes, puzzles, pop quizzes, and video challenge are placed to get the goal. After the end of the 2 rounds, whichever team has the most points moves on to the video zone, the game show's final round. There are 3 levels that must be cleared in the video zone, the final which is the boss stage hosted by the video game wizard. Should the team get through all 3 levels, they win 2 valuable prizes along with a grand prize, mostly a trip to the studio itself. But along the way, they can get $50 for each item that they grabbed. During video challenges, the host would often sing an improv ditty based on the game or the results, presumably due to his chance to show off his fun personality on camera. This has become the most memorable thing about the show amongst fans. Speaking of video games, a lot of games that they used were brand new and hoped that the program would plug them as well. Sonic, Toki, Dino Land, Ghost Pilots, Mystical Ninja, just to name a few. The videos was also relatively popular due to the sole concept of children being in real video game. Amidst all the games of catching coins or rings, removing circuits, hitting elves, taking bananas, there were a lot of creativity made by the video zone and was very advanced for its time, let alone before the 2000s. Around 2009, episodes of the show appeared on Dailymotion, and new fans were beginning to enjoy the show. New reviews and videos were coming about Nick Arcade, and it was going well. Last year, though, the streaming service Paramount Plus released all the episodes on their channel, meaning anyone could no longer have to wait to find episodes. All 84 episodes from both seasons were available to watch anytime, aside from the ads. The reason that I say this is up for the next section. After its main run, reruns of Nickelodeon Arcade would play until September of 97, where it was later moved to GaS from 1999 to 2007. Many torrents of Nick Arcade were made from 2005 to the end of GaS, and were then put online for archival reasons. All the episodes that reran were online, with the exception of 20 episodes that never aired on the channel. The reason for this was due to copyright issues with some of the music videos that were featured, even though it's at most 5 seconds of that. Eventually, in 2009, one missing Season 2 episode appeared on Turbo Nick, one part of Nickelodeon Online. Then a Season 1 episode was put on iTunes in 2013. Later on, 5 various episodes were found via VHS recordings from 97. Ultimately, the last 13 episodes were uncovered thanks to Paramount Plus, presumably because they were finally able to clear all the music rights. What I still find interesting is how the 1997 recordings survived. Those VHS copies were not meant for archiving, but simply personal enjoyment, as this would be the case with a lot of old tapes of children's media being uploaded. Nick Arcade is a pretty awesome game show, and I'm glad that people are starting to enjoy the show nowadays. It was a pretty awesome show for its time, but it has held up quite well. Hopefully the show could be given a reboot, especially with Phil. There was a lot of neat stuff that today's kid could be introduced to, and I think it's very feasible. Hopefully we will get some more action into the show now.